Welcome to the Crowds Line College Football Show.
All right, we're live now, and as I said, this is the Crowds Line College Football Show with Lou Holtz and Mark May, two football legends, as we know. I'm Kevin Trimble, your moderator. It's great to be at Captain's Quarters in Louisville, Kentucky. We have some great sponsors. We got DFH, we have Berkshire Hathaway Parks and Weisberg. It could not be a better day. Look at the weather. But you know why it's a great day? Because we're going to talk about college football. And I had a little script. We were going to intro and do some things. But the most important thing about college football and any winning organization is a leader. And it's a leader who has a vision. And then it's all the people that execute that vision. Well, here in the city of Louisville, in the Derby City, as we know, we have a new football coach. So having a big round of applause. Let's bring on Coach Scott Satterfield.
Right there. Yeah. You sit down and remember, right between two seeds also. So that'll be fine.
Well, Coach, welcome to the Crowds Line College Football Show. I know this is a quick, and it was on short notice. And I know your opening press conference, you made it very clear. Positive energy and a culture. So you're on this job 2 weeks today. Tell us what's going on. What are your challenges, and what are you moving forward with?
There's a lot going on. I can promise you that. Someone just asked me, have you been able to get out around the town any? I said, not really. You know, I'm living at the Hilton Garden Inn in the office at the Cardinal Stadium. So it's been wild. It's, you know, you're trying to put together a staff, trying to do some recruiting here. You know, signing day, the first signing day is coming up Wednesday tomorrow. So it's been really, really busy with all that. And, you know, and then trying to get, you know, families up here and those type of things. But it's been very exciting. The people here have been unbelievable to us.
I know anytime you take over a new situation, to me, the two most important things are staff and recruiting. Tell me where you are on the staff. How many coaches did you bring with? How many did you maintain here? What's the direction you're going?
Yeah, we're in the process of doing that right now. I think we have 5 with us right now. There's 3 that I brought with me from Appalachian State. Of course, they won our bowl game Saturday night. Did an outstanding job with that. And then we're in the process of recruiting some more coaches. Hopefully by the next week we'll have, you know, maybe full staff. But it's, you know, some guys throughout the country. Obviously, there's some guys that are still coaching right now that are out there that we'll be talking to try to get in here with the bowl season now. And so right now we got the bulk of our guys, our strength coach, our director of football operations. They're in-house now. And, you know, so we're rolling along with that pretty well.
Coach, you made the transition from Appalachian State going from FCS to FBS. That was a challenge. Now you're going from the group of 6 to a Power 5 school, Power 5 conference. What's the challenges you faced making that transition?
Well, I think, you know, when you look at that kind of jump, you know, obviously you're recruiting at a higher level now. The kind of talent that we'll be bringing in here, University of Louisville, is going to be great talent. You know, for us, this time of year, you get hired, you know, 2 weeks ago. You're trying to get a class together. This first signing period has been very challenging for us. I think the bulk of our class will be signed in February for this class. Fortunately for us this year, we're not signing a big class this year. You know, roughly 13 or 14 guys in this class, so it's going to be a small class. But I think what it boils down to is bringing the kind of talent that help us win championships, and that's what we're going to shoot for. And then also the right fit. I think the thing that made us so successful at Appalachian State was bringing in the kind of players there that the culture will be very, very strong, and you'll be sustaining over a period of time and have that consistency. And that showed Saturday night. You know, they lost their coach. They had an interim coach. Then they announced a new coach. I mean, all within a week period. And those kids still went out there and played outstanding football and win the game. So that's the kind of culture we want to create here, one that everybody will be proud of, and then want to be very competitive on the football field.
I started following Appalachian State when you beat Michigan up at Michigan, and then your great performance you had this year. You lose to Penn State in overtime, and you just done a tremendous job. You're coaching. You've been in demand. Your name's been associated with a lot of different jobs. Why Louisville? You could have went to other places. Why here?
Well, I think, you know, from the outside looking in, the perception of this program has been off the charts. You know, with Teddy Bridgewater, with you know, some of the Heisman Trophy winners that we just had, Lamar Jackson. You know, they've been very competitive. You know, for me, it's a great town. It's a great city. The city of Louisville has been outstanding. What we've seen from the outside, didn't know a ton about it. So you start doing your research. Vince, the athletic director here, did a great sales job to me to this program. I grew up in the Raleigh-Durham area, you know, which is ACC country right in there. So I know a lot about the ACC and their football, and I just feel it's a great opportunity for this program here to be one of the best programs in the country. I think we can elevate this program to that, sustain it a top 25 program year in and year out. So all those reasons, and that I live here in this city, there's many reasons why we chose to come to Louisville.
Coach, a lot of coaches come into a new program and they always talk about the long-term vision. And in our society today, everybody wants to know what's happening tomorrow. So what are your short-term goals right off the bat?
Well, right now it's staff. We got to get the right kind of people in here as far as coaches. I want to surround myself, and it's not just your full-time coaches. It's all the other coaches. And nowadays in your big-time programs, you have quality control guys. Your strength staff is one of the most important hires that you'll possibly make. And having those guys in that weight room that are with our kids every single day, our student athletes. So that's the most important thing. And then recruiting. This next month for us is going to be huge to finish out this signing class in February. That's the immediate things. Staff, getting our families here and getting our staff here, and then getting these recruits in here. It's all about relationships. So recruiting is relationships. We all know that. You have to establish that relationship, that trust that we'll have with these guys to know that we're going to come here and do something special. So that's probably the main thing that we're doing. And then we'll start focusing on spring practice and all those things on down the line.
I always felt the first team meeting was very important. You walk in, you come from a winning situation, and the players are like, you know what I'm talking about. What did you cover with them in your very first meeting?
Well, I think the very first thing I told them was that we're here for these guys. We chose them. They didn't choose me, and I chose those guys. So what we said was we're going to build everything around trust. Because you're going to ask somebody to do something, to get up at 6 a.m. to go bust their tail in the weight room and to run. They better trust what we're doing. And so we're going to build that, establish that trust with the players. That's the very first thing. Once we do establish the trust, then they'll obviously adhere to what we're trying to implement into the program. And we also told them we're going to put our arm around them. We're going to love on them. It's going to be hard. We got to fight hard if we're going to be competitive and try to win championships. But I think the love there, if it's there, then they'll do a lot of things for us. We'll do a lot of things for them. And I also told them that we're going to be one. We're not going to be any individuals. The coaching staff, the players, we're all going to be in this thing together. And we're going to fight our tails off together. I think that having that togetherness is what's going to help us compete for championships. That's what I've always been a part of, and we'll install that here. And I think they were very excited. You're right. They're sitting there a little bit like, hoping a little bit, but I think they're fired up. We had a bunch of the guys come up to the office afterwards individually, shaking their hand, Coach, can't wait to get started. One of the bad things for us is you get hired this exam week. Now they're all gone. I'm ready to get started with the guys right now. And so we got about a 3-week break. They'll be back the 1st of January. We can't wait to get started with these guys when they get back.
All right, the last thing I've got to say, Coach, is you sold me. Where do I sign?
Hey, we can probably use you right now. We need some help up front, I promise you that. We got a right tackle right now, and you can come in there and we'll sign you right up, buddy. So, yeah, absolutely. So we're excited about it. We can't wait to get started. January can't get here soon enough.
Well, Coach, I know recruiting's a priority, National Signing Day tomorrow. Chris Redmond and Michael Bush, their eligibility's over. Sorry about that.
Unfortunately.
Okay, they're out. But as we know, always improve, practice, practice, practice. You're probably going from here to a visit. I know you are. So what we want to do, I'm going to help you out a little bit. So imagine if you would, okay, that I'm bigger, stronger, faster, and 30 years younger. And 2-for-1 deal. And that's my twin brother, Mark. He's a left tackle, and I'm an outside linebacker. Home visit, this is our dad. Sell us. Let's hear it.
Well, number one, we got a huge need at left tackle and linebacker. I can promise you that right now. You got an opportunity to come in here and play right away and help us win championships. The kind of players that you guys are fit exactly what we're looking for, the kind of character, the kind of leadership that we want in our locker room to surround our team with. You guys fit that perfectly. You're right here in this town right here. We want you to stay home so your family and friends can come out here and support you, and you can help take this program to a top 25 program each and every year.
Neither one of them can get in school.
Oh, man.
We're going to go there.
We got to find some things to get in here. Work on that test score.
I want to tell you, Coach Satterfield, I cannot agree with you more about the trust, about the care, and about the total commitment. If I give you any advice, be one thing. Keep one coach from the present staff so you at least know where's the admissions office. Why'd you do this? About that guy. One guy from the previous staff is invaluable because of the information they can provide with you.
Well, Coach, we can't thank you enough. I know you're busy. So, ladies and gentlemen, how about a big round of applause for University of Louisville football coach Scott Satterfield.
If I can help you, let me know.
Stay with us. We're going to take a short break. Back at the Crowds Line College Football Show with Lou Holtz and Mark May. And thanks for Scott Satterfield. It's an exciting time here in Louisville. Oh, by the way, Coach, they opened with Notre Dame. So we'll see how that one's going to go. So let's get back to what brought us here. We started on August 28th was our first show and started picking games. And we said, well, you know, who's going to win the conference? Who's going to win national championship? Some bold predictions. But we're right now in bowl season because of these conference championship games. Any surprises on those for you, Mark?
Not really. I think they went all according to chalk. The only one that surprised me was the American Conference Championship because I thought for sure with UCF with Mackenzie Milton, their starting quarterback, down. I didn't think they had a chance in that game because they had a replacement that only played one game throughout the season, and basically he was a backup. And he goes in and just lights it up, and they were 17 points down and came back, and they beat Memphis, and I thought that was very impressive. That was probably the only thing that shocked me.
I thought the biggest surprise was Alabama. You know, Alabama's played Georgia the last 2 years. Georgia's led. There's 120 minutes in those two games. Georgia's led 111 minutes. Alabama's led a total of 9 minutes, and they've won both games. And what's amazing, last year, Tua come off the bench to beat Georgia. This year, Jalen Hurts comes off the bench to beat Georgia. Georgia's got to be insane right now. To be ahead of Alabama for 111 minutes out of 120 and lose both of them, that's heartbreaking. So that's the thing that surprised me how close that was.
Coaches, you know, it helps when your backup is 26-2 as a starter. But you talk about some upsets. So how about the Heisman Trophy? You remember we picked the Heisman Trophy. There was one guy from day one, and guess what? Didn't win. Upset.
Well, if you look at the Heisman Trophy, Tua was the leader throughout the entire season. And Tagovailoa had a heck of a season. We all know that, the numbers that he put up, and he only played basically a half a game to 3/4 of a game in each and every game except maybe one game. But then when you look at the numbers that Kyler Murray did, and he started off with not only on the ground but in the air, so impressive that he was able to distribute the football, make great decisions with the football, and from gate to wire, I thought Kyler Murray was the one to catch. I love Tua the way that he played, but at least Kyler Murray, you know that he was in some tough games and played 4 quarters, and when I voted for the Heisman, I had Kyler Murray on the top and I had Tua second.
I had Kyler Murray on top, but I'll tell you what, the guy that deserved it to me more than anybody was Haskins. He carried Ohio State. They had a poor defense. Not that Oklahoma had a good defense by any stretch of imagination, but I thought Haskins had a tremendous job. You look at total offense, Kyler Murray had 4,950 yards total offense. Haskins had 4,700. So there really wasn't an awful lot of difference. But I'm not surprised that Kyler Murray won. But maybe it's the system in Oklahoma because now you have winners back-to-back. But here's the bad thing. The guy that wins the Heisman never plays very well in a bowl game. Very, very seldom. And so Tua will have something to prove in that game against Kyler Murray.
Well, we're talking about bowl games. The question, it's a trend. And, Coach, I'm going to ask you this first. Players saying, I'm going to opt out of the bowl game to go to the NFL draft. I mean, we've heard about that. But your home state university, West Virginia, Will Greer, you got Will Greer, he's saying, I'm out. Coach, what's your thoughts on that?
I think that's absolutely ridiculous. That's selfish, and it's totally inconsistent with what a winner does. But let's also remember this. Will Greer is a guy that transferred from Florida to West Virginia. He seems to be a type of guy that he just wants to change the address of his property. I think Oliver bailing out at Houston. Bosa, what he did for Ohio State, that's unfair. You have an obligation to your teammates. It's not about you. Their attitude, they walk in the room, hey, here I am, look at me, it's all about me. No, it's not about you. It's about your team. And I just find that totally irresponsible on that behalf. And if I'm running a pro team, that would weigh in my decision whether I wanted to draft him or not. But fortunately for Will Greer, I don't own a pro team.
I'm on the opposite side of the fence by far, and I don't.
Well, that's surprising.
Well, no, because I look at these young players right now. And
hey, here I am.
Maybe it's the materialistic weasel in me, but I'm looking at their future. There's a lot of young players out there, and if you look at some players that have gone to that bowl game and gotten injured and dropped their draft status. And if you look at a lot of players, when they want to get to the NFL, 99% of the players want to get to the NFL that play college football. If you're going to get the opportunity, you're going to be a first-round draft pick, and you know that. You've done enough for your university. You've been there 2, 3, 4 years. You've built enough equity in that university to pay back what they've done for you. So I look at it, if you've got a chance to go to the NFL and a chance to get drafted in the first round, the bowl game is meaningless unless you're playing for a national championship. You sit the bowl game out.
Now I know why I didn't recruit you.
Hey, well, it's not all about the talent. It's all about your future. If you want to play in the NFL,
no, it's about
the
team.
Every scout and every NFL general manager that I know that I've talked to, they're breathing a sigh of relief that these top players are not playing in this bowl game.
Yeah,
because they don't want that wear and tear on that body for one more game and for 3 weeks of practice.
Yeah, you're going to play in the NFL, but I want to tell you, 97% of the people on that team are not. They're going to have to live with the result of that bowl game, the together, the camaraderie, everything else. You're being totally selfish along that line.
But that 97%, let them play in a bowl game. That's good, and that's well and good.
Hey,
that
whether you win the bowl game or not now.
Oh, come on, Coach. I played in 4 bowl games, and I really don't even remember any of them.
And I coached in 26 of them, and I want to tell you, it makes a big difference who wins.
Well, Coach, I'm not going to opt out. I'm here with you. So let's talk about bowl games. Now, just so y'all know, this year, in this first inaugural season of the Crowds Line College Football Show with Lou Holtz and Mark May, we picked 130 games. And so everybody wants winners and losers. I'm not going to go into spreads, but the elder statesman, Coach Lou Holtz, 90 wins, 40 losses, 69%. That's pretty good.
That was good in high school. That would be great.
I get a 2-0 there. Mark, 80 wins, 50 losses, 61%. So we're going to talk about bowl games, and we're going to start off with the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, Texas. And just so you know, we always pick a military academy every opportunity we can. Of the Crowds Line, there's about 15 of us that put the Crowds Line together. There's 6 veterans on the Crowds Line, to include former Army Second Lieutenant Lou Holtz right here. We have Army, we have Navy, and we don't have Air Force, and we're not going to because they couldn't pass the test. So we're going to talk about the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. And you've got Army, who currently is 10-2, taking on Houston. As you know, Houston, no Ed Oliver, opted not to play. Derek King, quarterback, he's hurt. And Army is, Army's rolling. Army keeps the ball for 40 minutes a game. Mark, who's going to win that one?
I like Army in this game. That's the reason why. It's because they can control the ball on the clock. And if you look what Army did against Oklahoma, they had the ball for 44 minutes against Oklahoma, the #1 scoring offense in the nation at the time. And they were able to run the ball, and they were able to play great defense in that game. And I think in this game, when you look at Jeff Monken, their head coach, he's not done a good job. He's done a phenomenal job. This is the first time in Army's history where they've won back-to-back 10 games. Think about that. Over 100 years of Army football and all those great teams, they've won back-to-back 10 games for the first time under Jeff Monken this last 2 years. And not only that, they've got a chance for the first time to win 11 games. And I like what they've done at their quarterback position. Hopkins Jr., he's been a terrific quarterback. They're going to run the ball. They're second in the nation in running the football. But the thing about it is about Army is once you get sucked in and bring that 8th guy up and that 9th guy up in the box, they're going to go over the top. And when they throw the ball, it's usually for 30, 40 yards, and it's a big play. And I like Army, just their discipline and the way that they can play. And defensively, we have their defensive coordinator, Jay Bateman. He was one of the finalists for the Broyles Award this year, and I hosted the Broyles Award. Outstanding young man. He's going to be one of the up-and-comers in college football.
Well, I think Mike has done a tremendous job. But let's remember this. For about 50 years, Army only played 9 games. If you only play 9 games, it's hard to win 10. I might add about that. But I think he's done a tremendous job. That's that West Virginia math, isn't it? Army has a very, very fine football team, but the most underrated phase of it is the defense. You mentioned Jay Bateman, the defensive coordinator. I happen to be on the board and get the chance to select the Frank Broyles Award, which goes to the outstanding assistant coach. Out of all the assistant coaches in the country, I voted Jay Bateman #1. I look for Army to win this game 31-14. Not only did Houston not have Oliver, the great defensive lineman, who's going to sit out, they lost their great quarterback, Derek King, who's accounted for almost 4,000 yards total offense. So without Oliver, without King, with Army, the day 31-14, West Point wins.
Well, there you have it. And just so everyone also knows, all of us on this table, we're all history majors from college. So we got to dig in and look at some history. And you talk about the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. At one point in time, it was called the Fort Worth Bowl. And it was played one time in 1921. And in that game, Center College of Danville, Kentucky beat TCU 77-7. So there you have it. But then we're going to move on to 2 ranked opponents. You got number 13, Washington State, number 24, Iowa State. Mike Leach, the Pirate, Gardner Minshew, his quarterback, who throws that ball everywhere, but then Matt Campbell and Iowa State and his defense are going to try to pretty much just follow the same plan that they did at West Virginia, but as I like to say, they're going to put in the Bobby Redden principle, which is I've never seen a big, strong quarterback throw a touchdown from his butt, and they're going to get after it. Mark, what do you think on this one?
I think this is going to be a blowout. I think Washington State's going to win this game handily, and these are the reasons why. If you look at Iowa State's defense, they're 62nd in pass defense in the nation. You look at Gardner Minshew, their quarterback, 4,477 yards during the regular season. He led the NCAA in passing. But here's the thing. One thing Mike Leach is he's a guy that never forgets. He's the guy that let something stick in his craw. They didn't get invited to the New Year's Six Bowl being intended to. They thought they were going to go. Mike Leach is the type of coach, it doesn't matter. If he's up by 30 with 3 minutes to go on his mother, he's still going to throw the football for a touchdown. So they're going to put up points late in the football game, and they're going to pile it on. I got them winning 47-27.
No, they're going to win the game, but they ain't going to pile it on. It's going to be a close game. Let's remember this. Washington State was held to 15 points by Washington. They were held to 19 points by California. Iowa State happened to beat West Virginia 30-14. Same type of offense, same thing. Last year, they beat Oklahoma. They upset them. They've also beat Oklahoma State this year. Their offense is very, very mediocre, but they have a knack of rising up. I look for Washington State to win the game 31-20 by scoring late in the game. It will be within one score with 4 minutes to go in the game. I know you picking my Ouija board instead, but this is based on that.
Well, it's better than the dartboard, but I'm going to ask you a question before I go to our next game. Okay, how many graduates of the University of Louisville are in here? Okay, let me ask this question: who here has or is currently paying tuition at the University of Kentucky? Imagine that. So this leads to our next game. Whether you like them or not, you're part of them. The Citrus Bowl. Kentucky Wildcats taking on Penn State. As you all know, the last time Kentucky was in the New Year's Day Bowl was January 1999, and they played Penn State in the Outback Bowl. Tim Couch puts on a clinic for 1 quarter, and then some guy named LeVar Arrington and Courtney Brown, take care of that. Okay, so is this going to be Josh Allen going to do that to Trace McSorley? Who knows? We're going to see. Air raid before. Kentucky's a defensive team now. Penn State lost some close ones this year. Mark, what do you think?
I like Kentucky in this game, and not just because I'm in the state of Kentucky right now. I think if you look at Benny Snell Jr. over 1,300 yards rushing in this, but Terry Wilson Jr., if you go back to the game against Vanderbilt when he was 3 for 19 in that game, they finally opened up the offense and let him throw the football. Since that point, he's averaged 210 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's the key to their offense, opening it up. He's not a prolific passer, but he can get the job done. He's very mobile at the quarterback position. If you look at Penn State in this game, I played at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm not picking Penn State to beat anybody. So I'm picking Kentucky in this game. They're going to win this game 29-27.
I'm picking Kentucky to win because I am in Kentucky, but I also think, I'm being honest, but I think that they have an excellent chance. Penn State gave up 42 points to Michigan, got beat 42-7. The last 3 games after that debacle, they've given up a total of 20 points. I know they haven't played the greatest teams in the world, but I like something about Kentucky. Kentucky has had some very, very big wins. Let's remember this. They got beat by Georgia twice. The reason I say they got beat by Georgia twice, they went into that game with only 1 loss. That was A&M in overtime. They beat South Carolina, and then they get beat by Georgia. And the following week, they lose to Tennessee. The reason I say Georgia beat them twice was they never got over the loss to Georgia, and after that, they have come on very, very strong. I love Snell, the running back. I love Wilson. I love Josh Allen. I think they have a very, very good defense. This Kentucky team is for real. I make no mistake about it.
And the other thing, I think Kentucky's hungrier than Penn State. Penn State, they think they should have gone to the New Year's Six Bowl. That's what they're used to under James Franklin. I think Mark Stoops has done a terrific job with this football team. For them to get the 10 wins, I think it's huge. Not only that, it's great in recruiting, so you can go out and sell that.
Well, Mr. Kentucky Kid Curlis, I know he's going to be all over that game as we go in. But I want to thank once again, DFH, Heating Cooling for a sponsor. I want to thank Parks and Weisberg, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. We've got this going on. I want you all to sit with me for a minute. We're going to take a quick break. And if you got a red ticket, check it. Now, welcome back. And what we're going to talk about now is the New Year's Day, New Year's Six Bowls. We'll get to the playoff later. And make sure, too, if you haven't done it, you download the Crowds Line app, you sign up for the free contest, and you yourself pick the scores. But we're going to start with the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl down in Atlanta, number 7, Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, number 10, Florida. I want to know this. Is Michigan going to let Ohio State beat them twice? That's what I want to know. What do you think,
Not
Mark?
going to happen. I look at Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. He's got the practice time to prepare his football team. They're still the #1 defense in the nation. Don Brown, the defensive coordinator, does a terrific job. Well, Michael Pirine, the running back from Florida, when he gets over 100 yards rushing, they're 8-0. When he doesn't, they're 1-4. So when you look at his football, or 1-3. So when you look at his football team and Michigan's offense, they're rolling. And for Jim Harbaugh to be embarrassed like he was, and Don Brown's one of the better coordinators in the country, I like Michigan to win this football game. Not only that, Michigan has never lost to Florida. They're 4-0 against Florida, so Michigan's going to win it 31-24.
Well, Michigan gave up 62 points to Ohio State, the #1 vaunted defense. In addition to that, last year, Michigan played South Carolina. They're ahead by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. They ended up blowing the game. They lost the bowl game. So I think both those things will be exceptionally motivating for the University of Michigan. However, Florida is capable of beating Michigan. Florida has beaten LSU, they beat Mississippi State, and they beaten South Carolina. That's 3 very, very good wins. However, I don't think that they have the quarterback to do it. I love what Shea Patterson has done for the University of Michigan. And if Michigan doesn't bounce back in this bowl game, it's going to be a long off season for the University of Michigan. But I think they will, 31-18.
Well, there you have.
I would not be surprised if Florida beats them. If the Florida beat LSU, Mississippi State, South Carolina shows up, they can beat Michigan.
You got to pick one winner. You can't be on both sides of the fence.
You run your program, I will run mine, okay?
Well, and don't forget Rashawn Gary from Michigan. He's also opted out of the bowl game. We're going to see how that one. But our next one, and I love these new names. This is great. January 1st, it's the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl out in Mark's neighborhood. And you've got number 11 LSU, number 8 undefeated UCF. Now, no Mackenzie Milton, no problem. If you saw UCF against Memphis in the AC Championship, they're down. Daryl Mack brought them back 3 touchdowns. LSU, on the other hand, they're coming off a 7 overtime loss to Texas A&M, and hopefully Coach Orgeron doesn't get a premature Gatorade bath. What do you think, Mark?
I like LSU in this game. It's going to be a tight game, and the reason why I like LSU is because Dave Aranda, the defensive coordinator, is one of the best in the nation. Even though there's going to be a lot of players like Greedy Williams not playing on their defense, their cornerbacks are going to be thin at that position, but still this LSU defense has plenty of athletes, and I think the 25-game win streak of UCF is coming to an end. I know Daryl Mack Jr. was accounted for 6 touchdowns in the American Conference Championship game. Very solid at the quarterback position, but this is a different animal in LSU. They're ticked off. They're hungry. They lost in 7 overtimes, and they should have won in regulations against Texas A&M. This is a team that I'm sure Ed Orgeron will have ready to play in this football game. Regardless of how many players are not playing for LSU, they will win the football game, and I think they're going to win it on offense this time as well as defense.
Well, LSU, that's a surprise. LSU does not play well in a bowl game unless it has great meaning. I look for UCF to win the game. Ladies and gentlemen, UCF is for real. They have outstanding talent. They have a great running back, McClay. They got outstanding speed at wide receiver. LSU will be surprised at how fast they are. There's a reason UCF has won 25 games in a row. I would think Mackenzie Milton is one of the great quarterbacks, one of the great competitors, but I love the way Matt's playing. I will not be surprised. Last year, UCF beat Auburn in the bowl game. This year, they beat LSU, and then maybe we'll get to an 18 playoff where you take the 5
Don't even go down that road.
Now, wait a minute. There's no way in this world Ohio State goes 11-1 both years, wins the Big Ten, and then involved in it. If you go take the 5 conference champions, take Notre Dame, taking Georgia, but also taking our non-5, which would be UCF. They belong in a bowl game. They belong in the playoff. They will beat LSU.
Where do you live?
I live in Orlando, which is why I know more. You sound like
where's UCF located at?
Well, I tell you, you sound like you live in Mars. You don't have any idea
I'm
what's
just asking.
going on.
Orlando.
Do I have the best job or what? I'm telling you, though, we're going to talk about the All-State Sugar Bowl. And what's kind of an anomaly here, these are 2 teams that are coming off losses. And some disappointing losses. Texas loses to Oklahoma, who they'd beaten previously, and Georgia loses to Alabama. They had them down, so hopefully they're going to decide not to do a fake punt from the 50 this time in the fourth quarter. But you've got 2 sophomore quarterbacks going at it, Selma Ellinger and Jake Fromm. And 2 coaches, but very new into their jobs, but great success at Georgia. Texas is trying to come back and be back, whatever the heck that means. Mark.
I'm really impressed with the Texas quarterback this year. Sam Ellinger, he's been outstanding and accounted for 38 total touchdowns. Just a big, physical, tough kid at the quarterback position. He's not going to be denied when he gets in a short yardage situation. But I think in this football game, you've got to go with Georgia because of the talent. Their offensive line is one of the best in the nation. The problem with Texas is their defensive front 7. The offensive line will wear them down from Georgia. DeAndre Smith has over 1,000 yards. He only played in 8 games this year, 8 full games, 10 games total. And you look at his backup, Elijah Holyfield. He's a terrific running back. You already mentioned Jake Fromm, the 27 touchdown passes this year. When you look at this football team from top to bottom on Georgia, they have a terrific defense, not as good as last year's defense, but their offense is much better in the rushing attack. They will wear down Texas in this football game, and they will end up winning this game, and it won't even be close at the end, Coach.
You know, we could spend for a couple hours talking about the preparation for a bowl game. How well a team plays a bowl game, a lot of it has to do with how they ended up this season and whether they're looking on the bowl game as a reward for being there or whether they're looking as a possibility to improve their standings in the entire country. There's so many other things that go into it. You talk about injury, but how much money each team gets, because I promise you, when they get together, they compare, well, how much spending money did you get compared to that? I think Texas is there to improve their status. I think Georgia's there. They have a little bit of problem. They have a great freshman quarterback. I want to tell you, Justin Fields, he's one of the most talented people I've seen.
They had until this morning.
Well, and he talked about transfers.
He is gone.
Well, it's better that he transfers before the game than after the football game. But, you know, it's just amazing. You should choose a school not because you're going to be able to play, or you should choose a school to get an education that's going to prepare you for 40 years instead of just 4. I know all you think about is the day and the money on it, etc. But I hate to see people transfer. All you do is transfer the address of your problem. But Texas is going to win this game 27-24. And remember, you heard it here.
34-20.
Remember that. Remember who had the better percentage for the entire year.
But the problem is, Coach, I use the spread with my numbers. If we go back and say against the spread, my numbers were crushed.
Well, as we said, we have the 2 programs, but our 4th game in this Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Parks and Whitesburg Bowl contest for New Year's Day is the granddaddy of them all. As you know, it's a Rose Bowl. But what's important about this year's Rose Bowl, Urban Meyer, Ohio State, is taking on Chris Peterson of Washington. Urban Meyer's last game. He said, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm stepping down. Ryan Day's going to move up. But Urban Meyer's going to be there. Dwayne Haskins, you saw what he did against Michigan. And Washington's got a pretty stout defense. But you've also got Chris Peterson. He's got a whole month to prepare. And we've seen what he's done in bowl games before. What do you think about this?
Believe it or not, I like Ohio State in this game, Coach. They're the better football team. Dwayne Haskins has been phenomenal this year. He will be the first quarterback taken off the board, the 47 touchdowns, the 8 picks, very impressive, but his decision-making has been phenomenal this year. The first year as a full-time starting quarterback for Ohio State. Even though Washington has the best defensive secondary in the Pac-12, they've got some great starters out there that are going to play at the next level. This kid will pick them apart. It doesn't matter how much time they have to prepare. The other thing about Chris Peterson, all those bowl games that he won at Boise, he's 1-3 in bowl games at Washington. So he's not been able to get over the hump at Washington. And Urban Meyer, this is his last game. I guarantee with his offense, he will try to run up the score like he did against Michigan. I like Ohio State big in this game. And Haskins plays about 3/4 and sits on the bench.
Stop the presses, ladies and gentlemen. I got a scoop. Mark picked Ohio State. That is a first. I'm not quite ready for that. I'm not so sure Ohio State will dominate this game. First of all, Haskins has such a great future, but he's playing in the game. Isn't that amazing that he puts the team first ahead of his own selfish interests? But here's the other thing. When you have a coaching change, Day is going to replace Urban Meyer. All of a sudden, the staff gets discombobulated. Am I going to stay with Coach Day? Is he going to offer me an opportunity? Do I have to find another job? Am I going to move? Who's going on? Who's going to be defense? All those things are distractions for the football team. I think that Washington is a very solid football team. I hope Coach Peterson will go back and coach the way he did at Boise State when he beat Oklahoma in the bowl game, running different trick plays and doing a variety of different things, because you're going to have to do it to beat Ohio State. I hired Urban Meyer. My grandson's a graduate assistant at Ohio State. He will be with me this weekend for 2 days. I look for Ohio State to win this game, 28-24, be a close game. But ladies and gentlemen, I believe Urban Meyer will coach again. I believe it will be at Notre Dame. Not next year, but sometime in the future. He's far too young to quit, and he's far too talented and far too capable. And he has so much to offer young people at a university. That's just my prediction. I've never talked to Urban about this. I'm sure he'll call me Monday, but be that as it may.
Well, Coach, I'm sure that's not a stressful job.
If you look at Urban's past, if history repeats itself, he'll be back by 2020.
No.
He'll sit out a year and work for some.
Notre Dame's not stressful, but Coach, I need a story. And the reason is because as we talk about being history majors, 50 years ago, January 1st, 1969, Ohio State played in the Rose Bowl. They played against USC, who had a pretty good running back, and a group of assistant coaches was beaten down to come up with a game plan to win that game and get a national championship. Tell us about that 50 years ago.
I was at Ohio State, and we had to beat Michigan to go play Southern Cal for the national championship. We scored late, went for 2, made it, and beat Michigan 50-14. And the media said to Woody, why did you go for 2? He said, they wouldn't let me go for 3. So now we go and we're playing Southern Cal. We get the dissertation about the best way to defend O.J. Simpson. I coach defensive back. I told them simply, when they run, come up. When they pass, go back. Cover the guy they throw to. Don't cover the decoy. 3 are decoys. 1's a receiver. You 4 ought to cover 1. Who's the decoy? That's the guy they don't throw to. You know, you keep it simple. But he said, O.J. better not score a touchdown. January 1st, 1969, second quarter, Southern Cal has ball 1st and 10 on their own 20. O.J. Simpson takes the sweep, goes 80 yards for a touchdown. I was fortunate I was up in the press box, Woody Hayes on the sideline. But I walk in the locker room at halftime, and the first thing that transpired was Woody Hayes, a man of my love and respect, come run up to me, strategically placed his left hand on my jugular vein and squeezed mine's got about that big. Now, you have to understand, Coach Hayes, he really meant me no physical harm. He just wanted to be sure he had my undivided attention. And he told the top of the line, said, why don't O.J. go 80 yards? I said, Coach, that's all he needed. You know, the ball's on the 10. Well, he gained 80 yards on one play. He gained 39 yards, or 42 yards on 39 other plays, and we beat Southern Cal 27-16 to finish undefeated, win the national championship, starting 16 sophomores. That's when freshmen weren't eligible. And all 4 defensive backs I coach are in Ohio State's Hall of Fame. And if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have heard of people like Jack Tatum. We had some talent back here.
Coach, I'm sorry I missed it, but I wasn't born yet. So what I want to talk about now is what's really coming up is on a lot of people's mind, and that's why we go to the Crowdsline app, get on the contest, because it's all about championships. Any organization where winning doesn't matter is probably a worthless organization. And we're going to talk about winning right now, because we're going to go into the DFH college football playoff segment, and we're going to pick, as we know, we got 2 games. We're going to start with the Orange Bowl, number 4, Oklahoma, 12-1. That one loss, they avenged it to Texas against undefeated number 1 Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa. He's wearing a boot on his leg. Is he going to be able to play? But as we said before, when your backup's 26-2 as a starter, you're in a pretty good spot, I think. But they can play some defense. Oklahoma lights out. They light up the scoreboard. But have they played against a real defense yet? What do you think about that one?
I like Oklahoma in this game. No, I don't. You know I like Alabama. Alabama's going to cruise in this game. It's not even going to be close. And you've got the luxury of 2 quarterbacks that have played championship games, that have won games and won big games. Not only that, when you look at their running backs, Najee Harris, Damian Harris, they're deep at the running back position. One thing about Oklahoma, if you can run the football, keep the ball away from them, they have limited possessions. And Army proved that earlier this season when they took them to overtime. Nick Saban's going to use that blueprint, but he's also going to go over the top with Jerry Jeudy, one of the best wide receivers in the country. Because one thing about Oklahoma's defense we all know, they can give up the big plays and give them up in a hurry. Oklahoma is a fantastic football team. I love Kyler Murray. I stated that. The numbers he's put up has been astronomical this year. But in this game, it's not going to be a shootout like last year's Georgia game. Alabama will limit their possessions and not let them score as many points, and they will hold them down to less than 28 points in this game. And Alabama will put up in the 40s easily in this game, not because of the quarterback position alone, but because they're going to force turnovers in this game, and they're great at that. And not only forcing turnovers, they capitalize and put points on the board after turnovers, one of the best in the business. I like Alabama big in this game.
I like Alabama, but you forgot one very, very important point. That's the offensive coordinator at the University of Alabama, which has done a tremendous job, has accepted the coaching job at Maryland. Yep. I can promise you, his mind is at Maryland. Yeah, he's working on Oklahoma and going to worry about Notre Dame in the championship game, but by the same token, he's worried about putting his staff together. He's worried about moving the family. He's excited about being a head coach and all the different. It does affect your football team. I think in Alabama is going to be great because Oklahoma defense is very poor. I would like to send a message to Oklahoma. It is permissible to tackle the ball carrier. You don't have to jump on his back, cut off the oxygen, hope he passes out before he gets to the goal line. They have played very, very poor defense this entire year, and I don't believe they can slow down the University of Alabama. On the other hand, Kyler Murray's had a fantastic year. 4,945 yards total offense. He can run. He won the Heisman. It's not quite the same. You have an awful lot of distractions. You go to banquets. Everybody's talking to you about winning the Heisman, and then that becomes your focus. Once you win the Heisman, hey, I've been to the top of the mountain. Everything else is second nature. Alabama wins the game 54-27. Alabama has a good defense, but Oklahoma will move the football.
Well, this is the second time Alabama, Oklahoma playing in an Orange Bowl with a national championship on the line. The first was in 1963. Alabama had a coach named Bryant and a quarterback named Joe Namath, and they took it to Oklahoma 17-0. So will history repeat itself? Who knows? But we go to the Goodyear Cotton Bowl in Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium in Dallas, where who's playing in that game, Coach?
Well, I want to mention the Oklahoma-Alabama game. We did the game in the Sugar Bowl where Oklahoma beat Alabama when they were a huge underdog.
2014, sir. So, but we're going to talk about Notre Dame and go down to the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Jerry's World, we've seen that. Jerry Jones's Dallas Cowboys, big bunch, it's going to be full, and you've got Clemson, Notre Dame. Tale of two teams, think about it. They're very similar. Both their fortunes changed this year. Maybe not so much for Clemson, but when they put in a different quarterback. You've got the Fabio O'Hare, Trevor Lawrence from Cartersville, Georgia, down there at Clemson, slinging it everywhere, but they're also now running the ball. And then what happened with Notre Dame when Ian Book got the reins, thanks to Mark May's advice, and Dexter Williams came in from his 4-game sabbatical, they're taking off. Mark, what do you think about this?
Well, Brian Kelly's the coach of the year this year, and if you look at Ian Book and his numbers, he's been terrific. 19 touchdowns, he's been able to move the ball. You got to love Notre Dame because of the nostalgia and all those great teams that they defeated this year that are ranked in the top 5, top 10. Not. I like Clemson in this game, and Clemson will blow out Notre Dame. There's a reason why they're favored by 13 and a hook, because if you look at Clemson on their defense, they've got 4 guys up front that will be drafted. 3 of them will be drafted in the first round on their defensive line. You look at the way they played this year, they only have 1 bad game against South Carolina. Their offense with Etienne, the running back, has over 20 rushing touchdowns in a season. How does that happen when you've got a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence that's slinging the ball over 70% completion rate all over the country, and you're moving the ball against better football teams? I would like to compare their schedule to Notre Dame's schedule. At least Clemson played multiple ranked teams on their schedule this season and defeated them handily. They only have 1 or 2 close games, but Notre Dame has been in a tough fight against Pittsburgh, against Ball State. They almost lost to Michigan, and Vanderbilt almost beat this team. They were within 7 points.
Okay. I want to tell you, everything you say about Clemson, they're a very balanced football team, Mark. They rush for 260 yards a game. They pass for 270 yards a game. Their front 4, as you mentioned, are absolutely outstanding. However, there are certain things that you have not really looked at. First of all, we aren't going to get beat by a freshman quarterback. In addition to that, I don't care who we played on our schedule. We went undefeated. We beat everyone we played. In addition to that, did you watch South Carolina throw for 500 and some yards against that secondary? And Notre Dame will win this football game. I think they win it 31-14. Now, you can give me all these facts, but I want you to remember something. Every aeronautical engineer will tell you that there's no way humanly possible that a bumblebee can fly. They'll tell you its body mass is too big, its wingspan is too small, so there's no way. But fortunately, the bumblebee can't read, so it flies all around. The same thing. Everybody told us why Notre Dame can't win. Notre Dame's not going to read the paper. They're going to go out. They're going to play the football game. We can run the ball. We can throw it. We have a great receiver in Miles Boykin. We have 9 starters back on defense. We've only given up in 9 of the 12 games. We gave up 17 points or less. Notre Dame wins the game 31-14. And Alabama's scared to death the following week.
Oh, I bet they are. And the thing about Notre Dame really gets me, they're going to lose 38-23. I'm going to tell you why. Look at their schedule. They shouldn't even be in the playoff. You want to know why? They only play 12 games. They're not even in the conference. They don't have to play a 13th game where they have to take that opportunity in that 13th game, not only to get players injured, but to lose that game and get that 13th data point. So just because they're Notre Dame, they get a pass.
Well, they get a pass because they're undefeated. My goodness gracious, Mark. And you're the guy that doesn't want to go to 18 playoff. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no teleprompter. We have no script. I love this guy. He's a great friend, but I'd love to agree with him, but if I did, we'd both be wrong. And you don't want that.
Well, there you have the college football playoffs. So, gentlemen, week 1, we said, who's going to be in this national championship? Didn't agree on that. Imagine that. But Coach said, you said Notre Dame was going to be our national champion. Mark, you said Alabama. So you're both still in the hunt. All right, Mark, who do you think is going to win this? Who's going to be in the game? What do you think? What's this national championship game going to look like?
It's going to be history repeating itself. 3 out of 4 years, Alabama and Clemson are going to go at it again. And this time, Alabama is going to win because the last time they played Clemson, they lost. I think that you look at, they have no Deshaun Watson. They do have Trevor Lawrence, which is not a dual threat quarterback. He's a quarterback that's a pocket quarterback that can sling the ball. Alabama does extremely well against those type of quarterbacks. Where they struggle is against mobile quarterbacks. But I think when you break down this game against Clemson, it's probably not going to be a high-scoring game. It'll be a lower-scoring game. I think Alabama, with their experience, and this is the great thing about it. When you look at Dabo Swinney, what he's been able to accomplish at Clemson in a short period of time, to be able to compete with Nick Saban almost each and every year, it seems that way. I think it's outstanding, the program that he's built at Clemson. I think the bottom line, Alabama is a machine and a well-oiled machine, and it doesn't matter who they bring in or who they plug in. It's plug and play at Alabama. It's next man up. If somebody gets injured, it doesn't matter. They're too deep at the quarterback position and two outstanding quarterbacks. And in this situation, Nick's been in it a bunch. Dabo's been in it a bunch. But when it comes down to it, I think Alabama's going to win this game because I think their offensive line is a better offensive line and more physical up front, and will get the job done when it comes at the end of the game when they have to have it, they have to move the chains. Alabama will end up winning this football game. And it'll be a close one, but Alabama will win this game 30-27.
I think Alabama is probably the best football team in the country, talent-wise, coaching-wise, etc. But losing your offensive coordinator makes a big difference. But one thing that hasn't really been evaluated is the great punter and place kicker Notre Dame has. They're both seniors. They're both outstanding talents. So Notre Dame is going to have an advantage in the special teams area. I think Notre Dame beats Clemson, as I mentioned, going against the University of Alabama. Just a knack of Notre Dame beating Alabama. I remember when Bear Bryant retired, I happened to coach against him in the Sugar Bowl. And so when he retired, or when he broke the record, I called him to congratulate on breaking the record, the all-time winning record. But I said, I felt I should call you because I contributed to that. He beat me. And I'll never forget what he said, yeah. He said, on my tombstone, they're going to write the only coach who couldn't beat Notre Dame. Bear Bryant was 0-4 against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl where Tom Clemens threw the comeback there. Notre Dame has a knack of beating the University of Alabama in a bowl game. I look for Notre Dame as a very, very smart football team. They aren't penalized very much. They don't make dumb mistakes. They don't make bad plays. I think that they're going to go in there, and it's been 40 years, 30 years since Notre Dame has won a national championship. Longest streak there's ever been. Before that, I think it was only 17-year streak. It's long overdue. Brian Kelly's the man. Now, if not me, who? If not here, where? If not now, when? Notre Dame beats Alabama.
I'm going to say this in closing. Some people have selective memories. Do y'all remember 2012, where the undefeated, mighty Notre Dame Fighting Irish took on Alabama? It was 42-14. I think in the second quarter, we were in the green room drinking Diet Cokes, watching the game on the monitor.
Well, that was then. This is now. You're always living in the past, Mark. You can't do that.
Well, there you have the national championship. So one says Bama, one says Notre Dame. But we have some other big games, and there's really one big game, and it doesn't even matter when it is. It could be a week from now, a month from now, but the only people in this room care about. And, Coach, I'm going to ask you, just give me a winner or a loser. And, Coach, you may want to break it down. Mark, I know you don't want to right now, but I'm going to make you. December 29th, Kentucky and Louisville are playing in a basketball game. And I know we're not a basketball show, but who do you think is going to win that one?
I have to pick Kentucky. And the only reason why is they're ranked. They're ranked 19th in the country right now. Calipari always does a decent job. He continues to just keep getting those young freshmen in and young freshmen to the NBA, and they've been phenomenal at it. So, and he's got the reputation as a great recruiter and a great developer.
I've known John Calipari. We've been friends, exchanged different coaching ideas and philosophies. He's done a tremendous job. But I look for Louisville to win the football or basketball game, and here's the reason why. Number one, it is at home. Make no mistake about it. And Kentucky has a tendency to turn the football over. The one thing Kentucky can do is rebound. They don't have an awful lot of assists, and when you look at comparable teams, both of them played Seton Hall, both of them played very, very well, was both very, very close. I think the fact that it's played at Louisville gives them the edge. However, you'll probably have SEC officials. I'm not saying officials are dishonest, but they call the game differently. In other words, they maybe allow a little bit more contact in their conference than they do, and you'd have to adjust. Plus, they're used to calling Kentucky games, etc. So it might go, not because they're dishonest, but it's just a different way you look at things. But I look for Louisville to win the game. They run that full court press all over, and Kentucky is going to have some trouble. It's going to be a great football game, very, very intense. I promise you, it's going to be a lot closer than your football game was. I hope that Louisville scores as much as Kentucky did in football.
You're talking about officials. Spoken from a man that put an official in a headlock on the sidelines of the national television game.
I was just trying to get his attention. The guy's name was Tom Thurman. It's a true story. What happened? We're playing BYU. The game's over. They've been holding us the whole game. And we blitz Peter Burgess. He's coming free. The center reaches over and puts a headlock on and pulls him down. True story. So I called timeout. I called Tom Thurman over. I put my arm around him, and I said, is this a penalty? Because if it isn't, I need to teach that technique. It's a lot more effective than what we're trying to block linebacker, and that's how that happened.
Well, there you have the basketball game. Just so you know, our sponsors, DFH, your answer in heating and cooling. I think, Alex, Chris, if you want a red one or a blue one, you can put either one. You can suit them. And Parks and Weisberg, you can get them a red house if they need to, or a blue house. But that's for everyone. But I'm going to ask Coach and Mark something we always talk about each week when we get done. What are they looking forward to most? We've got probably 20 more bowl games left. We gave you a few, but what are you looking forward to most this next couple of weeks?
I'm looking for the Oklahoma-Alabama game in Tua Tagovailoa to see if he's healthy, because the last time we saw him, he was at the Heisman Award and he was on a scooter. And I think now he's back at practice, just throwing balls, standing there, he's not running the ball. But the thing is, if he's healthy in that game, I want to see a healthy Tua against a healthy Kyler Murray to really find out 1 and 2 on the Heisman, who's really going to do it against each other head-to-head.
I'm looking forward to the Hawaiian Bowl with Louisiana Tech playing Hawaii. My son's head coach at Louisiana Tech. He's won 4 bowl games in a row. He's trying to win 5 in a row. They've only won one other one in the history of the school, and it's a toss-up game. But I say that. I love bowl season. I watch every single bowl that I possibly can. It's just the excitement, the exhilaration. Plus, there's not an awful lot to do around Christmas other than light the Christmas tree. But I'm looking forward to all the bowl games. There'll be some great bowl games. There'll be some upsets. I've been very impressed with what Utah State did, what Appalachian State did thus far. So let's have more bowl games.
Well, I'm with you, Coach. Excited about football, excited about Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody here. Also, make sure you tip your waiters, think about them, but I also want to tell you about some other folks we have. Screen Eye, that's Scott Hall behind you right there, and he's been the production director with his team of the Crowd College Football Show, Ben Chapins, and they've got a guy in D.C. right now, Chris Joust, who's operating our live stream of this show. So for your video solutions, Screen Eye out of Lexington, Scott will take care of you. But most importantly, I want to thank Captain's Quarters. I want to thank DFH. I want to thank Parks and Weisberg. I want to thank these gentlemen, but I also want to thank a lot of people that brought a good welcome home. I got high school friends, we got college friends, we got life friends, and now they're your friends.
I'll tell you, Captain's Headquarters restaurant is very, very impressive. I don't know how the food is because they won't let me eat. So other than that, the atmosphere is
well,
great.
What we're going to do, Coach, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, get a quick drink of water. I'm going to hand a microphone out there, and somebody's going to ask you and Mark some questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
From the 30, Johnson out of the shotgun. Dropping back, pressure on, throwing over the middle. Has Williams. 10, 5, touchdown!